Find a comfortable position and let your body sink into the bed. Feel the mattress supporting you. Feel the pillow cradling your head. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw relax. And now, imagine a world where the air is quiet, where the morning begins without a single notification, without a buzz, without a ping, without a screen lighting up demanding your attention. There is no rush. There is only the soft morning light and the steady rhythm of a world that moves at its own pace. Let's go back. Not so very long ago. Just a generation or two. To a time that many can still remember. A time when life unfolded differently. More slowly. More deliberately. More peacefully. Before the internet, daily life generally moved more slowly. Plans were made well in advance because people were harder to reach instantly. Think about this for a moment. Really let it settle. The pace was different. Not because people moved more slowly. Not because they were less capable or less ambitious. But because the tools of instant connection didn't exist yet. You couldn't text someone and change plans at the last minute. Couldn't send a quick message saying you'd be late. Couldn't check in with a photo or a status update. If you wanted to make plans with a friend, you had to commit. Days in advance. Sometimes weeks. You'd see them at school or work. Or you'd call their home phone in the evening when you knew they might be there. And you'd say, "Would you like to meet on Saturday? At 2 o'clock? At the park by the fountain?" And they'd think about it. Check their calendar if they had one. Or just think through their week. And they'd say yes or no. Right there. In that moment. And once the plan was made, it was made. Solid. Real. Written in pencil in a pocket calendar or simply remembered and honored. And then Saturday would come. And you would go to the park. At 2 o'clock. Not 2:15 because you got delayed and texted. Not 1:45 because you checked in early. But 2 o'clock. Because that's what you said. And your friend would be there. Because that's what they said. And if something went wrong, if someone got sick or had an emergency, well, they just wouldn't show up. And you'd wait. For 20 minutes. Maybe 30. Giving them time. Giving them grace. And then you'd understand. Something happened. They couldn't make it. And you'd find out why the next time you saw them. The next time you talked. There was patience in this. Built-in patience. You couldn't know everything instantly. Couldn't track someone's location. Couldn't send anxious messages asking where they were. You simply waited. And in that waiting, there was a kind of peace. A kind of trust. An understanding that life happened at its own speed and you adapted to that rather than trying to control every moment. And mornings. Oh, mornings were different. Many people started their day with quiet moments, embracing the stillness that comes when there are no digital alerts to pull your attention. Imagine waking up. The sun just beginning to filter through curtains. Or maybe still dark in winter. The house quiet. And you wake naturally. Or to an alarm clock. The kind that ticked. Or buzzed. Or played the radio. But you wake, and nothing is demanding your attention. No phone screen glowing with notifications. No messages waiting. No emails piling up. No news alerts. No social media to check. Nothing. Just quiet. Just morning. Just the slow process of waking up. Stretching. Opening your eyes fully. Maybe lying there for a few moments. Just being. Just existing in that space between sleep and waking. No urgency. No pull. No digital world already colonizing your consciousness before you've even left the bed. And then rising. Slowly. Making coffee or tea. The ritual of it. The smell. The warmth of the cup in your hands. Maybe looking out the window. Watching the morning. Watching birds. Watching the streets slowly come to life. Neighbors leaving for work. Kids waiting for the school bus. The newspaper being delivered, yes, the physical newspaper landing with a soft thump on the porch. And sitting. Actually sitting. With the newspaper. Or a book. Or just with the coffee and the quiet. No scrolling. No checking. No quick glance at the phone. Just being present with the morning. With the day beginning. With yourself. There was a spaciousness to this. A quality of attention that's harder to find now. Not because people have changed, but because the world has changed. Because the quiet has been filled. And when the day began in earnest, when you left the house and moved into the world, connection happened differently. People spent much more time talking directly to one another, stopping on the street or at a local shop to share a slow, meaningful chat with a neighbor. You'd walk to the corner store to buy milk or bread, or to the post office, or just walking through the neighborhood. And you'd see people, your neighbors, the shopkeeper, the postal worker, people you recognized, people who recognized you. And you'd stop, not rushing past, not offering a quick wave and hurrying on, but actually stopping, making time, making space for connection. How are you? And meaning it. Not as a greeting you rush past, but as a real question. And they'd answer. Really answer. Oh, my knee's been bothering me. Or my daughter's visiting next week. Or did you hear about the new family that moved in down the street? And you'd talk. 4 or 5 minutes. 10 minutes. Standing on the sidewalk or in the shop. No one checking their phone. No one distracted by notifications. Just two people. Talking. Connecting. Sharing life. The shopkeeper knew you. Knew what you usually bought. Would set aside items they thought you might like. I got those cookies you mentioned last week. Or your usual bread is fresh this morning. Tea was personal. Relational. The transaction, buying something, was just part of a larger interaction that was fundamentally human. Fundamentally about connection. And these conversations weren't scheduled. Weren't planned. They just happened. As part of the rhythm of daily life. Part of what it meant to live in a community. To be a neighbor. to be known, to know others. There was a richness to this, a texture, a sense of being woven into the fabric of a place, of belonging not to a digital network but to a physical community, a neighborhood, a place where your presence mattered, where your absence would be noticed. And when you wanted to reach someone who wasn't nearby, when you needed to connect across distance, the method was different. If you wanted to reach someone far away, you took a pen to paper and wrote a letter, knowing it would be days or weeks before a reply returned. A letter. Think about what this meant, what it required. First, intention. You had to decide to write, had to sit down with paper and pen, had to make time, make space. This wasn't done in 30 seconds while waiting in line or during a commercial break. This required presence, attention, the decision to communicate, and then the writing. By hand. Your handwriting. Unique to you. The way you formed letters. The pressure of pen on paper. The slight imperfections. The crossed out words. The additions squeezed into margins. All of it personal. All of it you. Your hand. Your marks. Your physical presence transmitted through ink on paper. And what you wrote. You couldn't just dash off a quick message. Couldn't send a brief text. Thinking of you. Letter writing required more. Required content. Substance. You'd share news. Tell stories. Describe your days. Ask questions. Express feelings. Fill pages. Because if you were going to the trouble of writing a letter, of addressing and stamping and mailing it, you wanted it to be worth the effort. Wanted to give something real. Something meaningful. And when you finished, you'd fold the pages. Carefully. Slide them into an envelope. Write the address. Your handwriting again. The recipient's name and address in your hand. A stamp in the corner. And then, you'd mail it. Drop it in a mailbox or take it to the post office. Release it into the system. Trust it to arrive. Days from now. Maybe a week. Maybe longer if it was going overseas. And then, waiting. You'd sent your thoughts. Your words. Your news. And now you waited for a reply. Weeks might pass. Longer. You'd check the mailbox daily. Hopefully. And then one day, there it would be. An envelope. With your name in someone else's handwriting. The reply. The connection completed. And you'd open it. Read it. Savor it. Read it again. Maybe several times. Because this was the only response you'd get for weeks more. So you'd absorb it. Hold it. Keep it. And these letters would accumulate. Tied with ribbon. Kept in boxes. Physical objects. Tangible proof of relationship. Of connection across distance and time. You could hold them. Reread them years later. The paper aging. The ink fading slightly. But the words still there. The connection preserved. Pen pal friendships. These slow, handwritten connections often grew into long-distance friendships with people in other countries, sharing stories and photos through the post. This was remarkable. You could become friends with someone you'd never met. Never spoken to on the phone. never seen except in photographs. Someone living on the other side of the world, in a different culture, speaking a different language perhaps. Schools would sometimes organize pen pal programs, connecting students in different countries. Or you might find a pen pal through a magazine advertisement, or through friends of friends. However it started, the result was the same. Letters. Back and forth. Across oceans. Across continents. Taking weeks each way. And through these letters, friendships formed. Real friendships. Deep friendships. Built entirely on written words and occasional photographs. You'd tell your pen pal about your life, your family, your school, your town, what you liked to do, what you dreamed about, and they'd tell you the same. And over time, over months and years of letters, you'd come to know each other, to care about each other, to look forward to each letter, to worry if one didn't arrive on schedule. The photographs were special. Printed photographs, mailed in envelopes, showing faces, families, homes, places, making the distant concrete, making the abstract friend real. You'd study these photos. Put them on your desk or bulletin board. Show them to your family. This is my pen pal. From Japan. From Brazil. From England. Pride in the connection. Wonder at the distance. Appreciation for the relationship that transcended geography. And if you were very fortunate, if the friendship lasted long enough and circumstances allowed, you might one day meet, travel to their country, or they to yours. The pen pal becoming a real, physical presence. The handwriting becoming a voice. The photographs becoming a person you could hug. These meetings were profound, emotional. The culmination of years of patient connection, of letters and photos and trust built slowly across thousands of miles. And when you needed information, when you had a question or wanted to learn something, you didn't turn to a screen, the printed page. When you needed information, you didn't look at a screen, you sat with an encyclopedia or a book, enjoying the tactile feel of flipping through pages. The encyclopedia. That set of heavy books. Maybe 20 volumes. Maybe more. Sitting on a shelf in your home. Or in the library. Arranged alphabetically. A through Z, containing knowledge. Distilled knowledge. Edited. Curated. Printed. Permanent. You'd have a question. Where is Madagascar? What is photosynthesis? Who was Cleopatra? And you'd go to the encyclopedia. Pull down the appropriate volume. M for Madagascar. P for photosynthesis. C for Cleopatra. Heavy in your hands. The weight of the book. The smell of paper and binding. And you'd flip through. Find the entry. And read. And the reading was different from reading online. You couldn't click away. Couldn't get distracted by links and related articles and advertisements. You simply read the entry in front of you. And often, you'd read the entries before and after too. Just because they were there. Just because you were already in the M volume and here was Magellan and magnesium and you'd never thought about magnesium but now you were reading about it. Serendipitous learning. Accidental education. Discovering things you didn't know you wanted to know. And if the encyclopedia didn't have enough information, if you wanted to go deeper, you'd go to the library. Find books on the subject. Pull them from the shelf. Stack them on a table. And read. For hours sometimes. Taking notes by hand. The library quiet around you. Others doing the same. A shared space of learning. Of seeking. Of the quiet concentration that comes when knowledge requires effort. When information isn't instantly available but must be found. Pursued. Earned. There was satisfaction in this. In finding the answer. In learning something new. In the physical process of seeking and discovering. It made the knowledge feel more substantial. More real. More yours. Because you worked for it. Because you held it in your hands. Because you read it with full attention rather than skimming quickly and moving on. And when you were out in the world, away from home, without access to your personal phone, communication still happened. The reliable payphone. When away from home, people relied on public payphones and kept important phone numbers stored safely in their own memories. Payphones. On street corners. Outside gas stations. In airports and shopping centers. Sturdy metal boxes. With a heavy handset hanging from a cord. A coin slot. A dial or keypad. Public. Available to anyone. Your lifeline when away from home. You'd need to make a call. To let someone know you'd arrived safely. To change plans. To ask for a ride. And you'd find a payphone. Dig in your pocket for coins. Quarters usually. Drop them in the slot. Listen for the dial tone. And then dial the number. From memory. Because phone numbers weren't stored in a device. They were stored in your mind. The numbers you called frequently, your own home, your best friend, your parents' work numbers, you just knew them. Memorized. Available. Part of your mental database. 7 digits. Or 10 if it was long distance. Your fingers moving across the dial or keypad. The number as familiar as your own address. And then ringing. Hoping someone would answer. Because there was no voicemail. Just ringing. And if no one answered, you'd hang up. Get your coins back if you were lucky. Try again later. Or make other plans. And sometimes, often actually, you'd need to call collect. For long distance. When you didn't have enough coins. You'd dial 0 for the operator. A real person. And say, I'd like to make a collect call. Give them the number. And they'd place the call. And when someone answered, the operator would ask, will you accept a collect call from your name? And the person on the other end would say yes or no. Yes, I'll pay for this call. No, I won't. A negotiation. A decision. Communication not free but valued. Chosen. There were etiquette rules. You didn't make collect calls frivolously. Didn't waste time once connected. Said what you needed to say. Efficiently. Because someone was paying. Because the call cost money. Real money. So you made it count. And in this era before constant connectivity, people spent their time differently. The morning walk. It was common to go for long, relaxed walks, either alone to clear the mind or with a friend to talk about the day ahead. Walking. Not as exercise necessarily, though it was that too, but as time, as space, as way of being in the world. You'd wake up, have breakfast, and then walk. Maybe around the neighborhood, maybe to a park, maybe just out, with no particular destination. Just walking, moving through the world at human pace, at the speed your legs could carry you. And if you walked alone, it was time for thinking, for letting your mind wander, for processing, for daydreaming. No podcast in your ears. No music unless you hummed it yourself. Just the sounds of the world. Birds, wind, traffic in the distance, your own footsteps, your own breathing, and your thoughts, free to drift, to surface, to work through whatever needed working through. Problems solving themselves as you walked, ideas arising, clarity emerging. The rhythm of walking somehow freeing the mind, opening space for thinking that couldn't happen when sitting still. And if you walked with a friend, it was time for talking. Real talking. Deep talking. The kind that happens when you're side by side, both facing forward, moving together. Not the intensity of sitting face to face across a table, but the ease of walking together. Matching pace, and talking about everything, about nothing, about what was happening in your lives, your worries, your hopes, your observations about the world, and listening, really listening, because there was nothing else to do. No phone to check, no distractions. Just walking, and talking, and the friendship deepening with each step. And for children, the morning held different magic. The secret spot. Children spent their mornings on bicycles, pedaling through the neighborhood to find secret spots in parks or hidden corners of the woods. Freedom. That's what childhood was. At least for many. In many places. The kind of freedom that seems remarkable now. Children would finish breakfast, and their parents would say be back for lunch or be home before dark. And off they go. On their bicycles. Into the neighborhood. Into the world. Groups of friends meeting up. At someone's house. At the corner. Plans made the day before. Or just understood. We'll meet at the usual place. And then riding. Through streets. Through alleys. To the park. To the creek. To the woods. To wherever adventure might be found. And secret spots. Every group of kids had them. Places they discovered, claimed, made their own. A clearing in the woods where you could build a fort. A tree perfect for climbing with a branch that became a lookout point. A section of creek where the water pooled and you could catch tadpoles. A hill perfect for sledding in winter or rolling down in summer. These places were sacred. Special. Yours. Hidden from adults. From the official world. Your territory. And the mornings would be spent there. Building. Exploring. Imagining. Creating elaborate games with complex rules. being pirates or explorers or whatever the collective imagination suggested. And parents didn't know exactly where you were. Didn't track you. Didn't worry. Not because they didn't care, but because this was normal. This was childhood. This freedom to roam, to discover, to be. And you'd return home dirty and happy and tired, with stories to tell or secrets to keep, with skinned knees and satisfied smiles. And sometimes, often on Sundays, families would engage in a practice that seems almost quaint now: the Sunday drive. Sometimes, families would simply get into the car for a Sunday drive, wandering through the countryside with no destination, just to see what they could find. After church maybe, or after Sunday lunch, the whole family would pile into the car. Parents in front, kids in back. No seatbelts required back then in many places. Just in, and then driving, out of the city or town, into the countryside, down country roads, past farms, through small villages, up into hills, beside rivers, wherever the road led. And the point wasn't to get anywhere, wasn't to arrive. The point was the drive itself, the seeing, the being together, the exploration without purpose. No GPS telling you where to go. No destination entered. Just driving. And when you came to an intersection, someone would say, "Let's go left," or "That road looks interesting," and you'd turn. Not knowing where it led. Not caring. Just wanting to see. And you'd see things. Beautiful things. A barn weathered silver by time. A field of wildflowers. A small church with a white steeple. A stream where you'd pull over and the kids would throw rocks. A fruit stand where you'd stop and buy apples or berries. Not planned. Not researched. Just found. Discovered. Stumbled upon. The joy of serendipity. The pleasure of not knowing what comes next. And in the car, you'd talk. Or sing. Or play games. I spy something blue. 20 questions. The alphabet game. Or just sit quietly, looking out the windows, watching the world go by. Together. As a family. The car creating a shared space. A mobile living room. Where you were together. Undistracted. Unavailable to the outside world. Just with each other. For hours sometimes. And it wasn't boring. It was time. Family time. Sunday time. Slow time. And then eventually, you'd head home. Maybe stopping for ice cream. Maybe not. Just driving back as the day drew toward evening. As the light changed. As tiredness set in. And pulling into the driveway. The day complete. The drive done. Nothing accomplished. Nothing achieved. But time spent. Together. Peacefully. Moving through the world at car speed but living at human pace. Connected to each other. Connected to place. Connected to the simple pleasure of wandering. And as you rest here now, as you drift toward sleep, let yourself feel what that world might have been like. The slowness. The deliberateness. The patience required and the patience received. The face-to-face connections. The letters written and awaited. The information sought and found. The walks taken. The secret spots discovered. The drives without destination. There's something in this. Something we've lost perhaps. Or something we've traded for what we've gained. Not better. Not worse. Just different. A different relationship with time. With each other. With information. With the world. A pace that allowed for stillness. For boredom even. For the space between moments where nothing happened but where somehow everything important took place. You can carry a little of this into your own life. Into tomorrow. Into the moments between. You can choose slowness sometimes. Can choose to put the phone down. Can choose to walk without listening to anything. Can choose to write a letter. Can choose to just drive. To wander. To let time move at its own pace. To remember what it felt like. Or to imagine what it might feel like. To live in a world that wasn't always rushing. Always demanding. Always available. Always on. Rest now. In that imagined slowness. In that remembered peace. In the gentle rhythm of a morning without notifications. Without urgency. Without the digital world pulling at your attention. Just morning. Just quiet. Just the soft light and the steady pace and the space to simply be. Sleep. And let the analog world of yesterday rock you gently. Let the payphones ring in dreams. Let the letters arrive in sleep. Let the Sunday drive carry you through the night. Slowly. Peacefully. Without destination. Without hurry. Without anything required of you except rest. Good night. Sleep well. And may your dreams be as slow and gentle as a Sunday morning in a world before the internet, before the rush, before the constant connection that became constant interruption. As the afternoon sun warms the world, feel it now. Feel that gentle warmth on your skin. The air is filled with the sound of distant laughter. Children playing somewhere. Adults talking on a nearby porch. And the steady work of hands creating something new. The soft scrape of knife on wood. The rustle of paper. The quiet concentration of making. There is no pressure to be productive. No metrics to meet. No content to create for others to see. Only the joy of the activity itself. The simple pleasure of doing. Of making. Of being engaged with something real and tangible in yours. Let's drift into the afternoon. That golden time. After lunch. Before dinner. When the day stretches long and lazy. When time seems to slow. When the possibilities feel endless. When there's nothing you have to do. Only things you want to do. Or things you choose to do. Or simply, time to fill with whatever emerges. Playing outside was a fundamental part of the day. People of all ages would join in games of football or basketball, or simply throw a ball around until the light began to fade. The outdoors called. It wasn't something you had to make time for. Wasn't something scheduled into a busy calendar. It was just where you were. Where life happened. Where afternoons unfolded. You'd go outside. The screen door slamming behind you. That distinctive sound. Metal spring stretching and releasing. The bang of door against frame. A sound that meant freedom. Meant play. Meant the outdoor world was yours for the taking. And you'd look around. See who else was out. Neighbors. Friends. People drawn outside by the same pull. The same afternoon sunshine. The same restlessness that comes from being indoors too long. And games would form. Organically. Naturally. Want to play? That simple question. That easy invitation. And yes. Always yes. A ball would appear. From someone's garage. From under a porch. A basketball. A football. A baseball. Didn't matter really. The ball was just the excuse. The reason to gather. To move. To play. And you'd play. Not organized sports. Not scheduled practices with coaches and parents watching. Just playing. Pick-up games. Self-organized. Self-refereed. Rules negotiated on the spot. First to 10 wins. Your skins, wear shirts. That tree is out of bounds. Making it up as you went. And playing. Until you were tired. Until someone had to go home. Until the light began to fade and mothers called from porches that dinner was ready. All ages played together. Older kids. Younger ones. The athletic and the clumsy. All mixed together. Because that's who was available. That's who was outside. And the older ones would adjust. Would throw softer to the younger kids. Would make sure everyone got a turn. Not out of obligation. But because that's how it worked. How the community of play functioned. Everyone included. Everyone participating. Everyone part of the game. And sometimes it wasn't even a game. Not in any formal sense. Just throwing a ball. Back and forth. For an hour. 2 hours. Standing in a yard or a street. Throwing and catching. Talking. Laughing. The rhythm of throw and catch becoming meditative. Peaceful. The conversation flowing naturally in the spaces between. Connection happening without effort. Without intention even. Just two people. A ball. An afternoon. And time to fill with simple motion and simple companionship. And when it got dark. When the light truly faded. When you could barely see the ball anymore. You'd go inside. Sweaty. Thirsty. Happy. Tired in that good way. That physical way. The way that comes from actually using your body. From moving. From playing. From being outside in the air and the sun and the wind. And you'd drink water from the tap. Cold. Metallic tasting. Perfect. And feel satisfied. Feel complete. Feel like the afternoon was well spent. But not all play was athletic. Not all games required running. Most games were physical or shared around a table, from marbles in the dirt to games on the porch. Marbles. Think about Marbles. Those small glass spheres. Beautiful. Colorful. Swirled with patterns. Solid and heavy in your hand. Each one slightly different. Each one precious. Your collection kept in a bag. A cloth bag with a drawstring. The marbles clicking together inside. And you draw a circle in the dirt. With a stick. Or your finger. A rough circle. Big enough. And you'd kneel around it. You and your friends. Each one contributing marbles to the pot in the center. And then taking turns. Flicking your shooter marble. A bigger one. Your favorite. Trying to knock the other marbles out of the circle. The ones you knocked out, you kept. Strategy and skill and luck all mixed together. The satisfying click when your marble hit another. The frustration when you missed. The triumph when you knocked out several in one shot. And at the end, counting your winnings. Maybe you'd won marbles. Maybe you'd lost some. Didn't really matter. The playing mattered. The being together. The concentration. The dirt under your knees. The sun on your back. The simple physics of sphere hitting sphere. The beauty of the glass catching light. Or card games. On a porch. Around a table. Or just sitting on the floor. Worn decks of cards. The backs faded. The edges soft from hundreds of games. Shuffling. The satisfying riffle. Dealing. Everyone watching to make sure the deal is fair. And then playing. Rummy. Hearts. Go fish. Gin. Poker with pennies or matchsticks for stakes. Games that took hours. Where the conversation mattered as much as the cards. Where strategies were discussed and debated. Where friendly rivalries formed. Where time passed in the best way. Unmarked. Unnoticed. Just flowing. And checkers. Chess. Backgammon. Board games worn from use. Pieces moved across boards. Thinking several moves ahead. Or not thinking at all. Just moving. Just playing. Just being together. The game providing structure. Giving you something to do with your hands. Something to focus on. While the real purpose, connection, companionship, the pleasure of shared time unfolded naturally. And social life had a different rhythm. A different structure. The open door. Visiting friends was a natural part of life. People would drop by unannounced to sit, drink tea, and talk for hours without any screens between them. Imagine this. A knock on the door. Or no knock. Just the door opening. A voice calling. Hello? Anyone home? And you'd come from whatever you were doing. And there they'd be. A friend. A neighbor. Not expected. Not invited. Just there. Dropping by. And this was normal. Welcome. Natural. Come in. I'll put the kettle on. That automatic hospitality. The kettle filled with water. Set on the stove. Or plugged in. The ritual of making tea. Preparing a pot. Getting out cups. Maybe some cookies or cake if you had them. And sitting. At the kitchen table. In the living room. On the porch if weather allowed. And talking. Just talking. For hours sometimes. The tea growing cold. Being refilled. Hot again. The afternoon disappearing into conversation. And you talked about everything. About nothing. About what was happening in your lives. About mutual friends. About the news. About ideas. About memories. About plans. The conversation meandering. Following tangents. Circling back. No agenda. No time limit. No appointments to rush to. Just time. Shared time. The luxury of it. The wealth of having hours to spend with someone. Of not needing to schedule friendship. Of doors being open. Of company being assumed welcome. And when the visit was over, when eventually one person would say, "I should get going," or "I need to start dinner," there were no hard feelings. No sense of cutting things short. Just a natural ending. A recognition that the time had been good and now it was time to move on. Thanks for stopping by. Let's do this again soon. Drop by anytime. And meaning it. And they would. And you would. This was how social life worked. Unscheduled. Spontaneous. Open. And people made things. With their hands. With simple materials. Handmade kites. People spent days carefully building and decorating their own kites from newspaper and sticks, then watching them dance in the wind against the kites of their friends. A kite. Made by you. Starting with sticks. Thin bamboo or wooden dowels. Cut to length. Notched at the ends. Tied together with string to form the frame. A cross. Or a diamond. Or a more complex shape if you were ambitious. The satisfaction of the structure taking shape. Of geometry made real. Of something that didn't exist now existing because of your hands. Your work. And then paper. Newspaper often. Or brown paper from bags. Cut to size. Fitted to the frame. Glued or taped. Edges folded and secured. Making sure it was taut. Making sure it would catch wind. And then decorating. This was the fun part. The personal part. Drawing. Coloring. Painting. Making the kite yours. A face. A pattern. A design. Whatever your imagination suggested. Whatever your skill allowed. Taking time. Taking care. Making it beautiful. And the tail. Long strips of cloth or ribbon or more paper. Tied to the bottom. For stability. For balance. For the way it would stream behind the kite as it flew. Testing the length. Adjusting. Adding or removing until it felt right. And then. The moment. Taking your kite to an open field. A park. The beach. A place with wind. With space. Holding the frame. Feeling the paper trembling. Wanting to fly. And running. Releasing. Letting the wind take it. Watching it rise. Climb. Pull against the string in your hands. Your kite. That you made. Up in the sky. Dancing. And looking around. Seeing your friends' kites too. Each one different. Each one decorated differently. All of them together. Against the blue. A constellation of homemade dreams. Of hours spent building. Now fulfilled. Now flying. And when the string finally broke or the kite crashed or the wind died, there was no tragedy. Just the satisfaction of having made something. Having watched it fly. Having done something with your hands and your mind in your time that was real. That was yours. That no one could take away. An exploration. Adventure. Discovery. Exploring the unknown. Some spent their time exploring abandoned places, collecting odd objects or old building fragments like hidden treasures. Every town had them. Abandoned places. Old houses no one lived in anymore. barns falling into gentle decay, closed factories, forgotten buildings, places that had been left behind. That time was slowly reclaiming, and they called to the curious, to the adventurous, to those who wondered about what came before, about what was left behind. You'd find a way in. A broken window, a door with a loose board, and enter, carefully, aware of danger, of unstable floors, of nails and broken glass, but drawn by the mystery, by the history, by the strange beauty of abandonment. Dust floating in shafts of sunlight through broken windows. Wallpaper peeling in curling strips. Old furniture left behind. Books. Bottles. Objects that once meant something to someone. Now just waiting. Forgotten. And you'd explore. Move through rooms. Touch things carefully. Look at old photographs. Read dates on newspapers. Try to piece together who lived here. What this place was. What happened. Creating stories. Building narratives from fragments. From clues. From the detritus of lives lived and moved on from. And collecting. Taking small things. A bottle with an unusual shape. A key. A doorknob. A piece of decorative tile. Things that caught your eye. That felt interesting. That seemed to want to come with you. Not vandalism. Not theft really. More like preservation. Like rescuing small pieces of history from complete oblivion. Taking them home. Displaying them. Telling their stories to anyone who asked. And exploring wasn't just buildings. It was nature too. Woods. Creeks. Quarries. Fields. Places at the edges. The liminal spaces. Finding things. Interesting rocks. Fossils maybe. Bird nests fallen from trees. Shed snakeskins. Mushrooms. Plants. The natural world's treasures. Evidence of wildlife happening all around. Free. Available. Waiting to be discovered by those willing to look. And some people, many people, found peace in simpler making. The art of whittling. A common way to pass a quiet afternoon was whittling, sitting on a porch and slowly carving wood into shapes and animals with a simple knife. Whittling. One of the oldest crafts. One of the simplest. All you need is wood and a knife. And time. And patience. Lots of patience. You'd sit. On a porch. On a step. Under a tree. Somewhere comfortable. Somewhere shaded. And you'd take a piece of wood. A stick found in the yard. A piece of scrap from a woodpile. Something with potential. Something that felt good in your hand. And you'd take your knife. Your pocket knife. Well worn. Familiar. The blade sharp from regular honing. And you'd begin. Small cuts. Shading away thin strips of wood. Slowly revealing what was inside. Maybe you had a plan. Maybe you were making something specific. A little animal. A simple figure. A pattern. Or maybe you were just cutting. Following the grain. Seeing what emerged. What wanted to be carved. And time would pass. Unmarked. Unnoticed. Your hands moving. The knife cutting. Curls of wood falling. Piling around your feet. The piece in your hands slowly changing. Becoming. The satisfaction of each cut. Each successful shaving. The way the wood felt. Smelled. The warmth of sun. The quiet of afternoon. Your mind calm. Empty. Focused only on the knife and the wood and the slow transformation happening between your hands. And maybe someone would walk by. Sit down. Watch for a while. Maybe talk. Maybe not. The whittling continuing. Providing occupation. Providing purpose. But not demanding full attention. Allowing space for thought. For conversation. For simply being present. Being occupied but peaceful. Hands busy but mind free. And at the end. After hours maybe. Or days. Working on the same piece across multiple afternoons. You'd have something. Maybe good. Maybe not. Didn't really matter. What mattered was the making. The time spent. The meditation of it. The connection to wood and blade in your own hands. Your own patience. Your own capacity to create something from nothing. Slowly. Carefully. One small cut at a time. And some people. The dedicated ones. The obsessive ones in the best way. They created entire worlds. The miniature world. Some hobbyists dedicated entire basements or sheds to model trains, wiring tiny lights and painting miniature towns to create a world of their own. A whole room. Or part of a room. Taken over by a model railway. Not a simple track around a Christmas tree. But a creation. A project. Years in the making. Platforms built. Landscapes formed from plaster and wire. Painted. Textured. Trees planted. Tiny trees. Carefully positioned. Buildings constructed. Kid buildings. Or scratch built. Each one painted. Detailed. Windows that looked real. Doors that might open. Signs and streetlights and benches and all the tiny details that make a place feel real. And the tracks. Complex layouts. Multiple trains. Switches and sidings. Stations and yards. Wired for electricity. Each section carefully soldered. Tested. Refined. And the trains. Collected over years. Each engine. Each car. Painted in proper colors. Weathered maybe. Made to look like they've seen use. Like they're real. Like they're traveling through a real landscape rather than a miniature one built in a basement. And the lights. Tiny lights in buildings. Street lamps. Signals. All wired. All working. The ability to dim the main lights and watch the layout come alive. The trains running. The lights glowing. The illusion nearly complete. The sense that this isn't a model. It's a world. A parallel world. Small but complete. Operating by its own rules. On its own schedule. Trains running from here to there. Picking up cargo. Dropping off passengers. A whole economy. A whole society. Miniature but fully imagined. And friends. Other hobbyists. Would visit. Would admire. Would offer suggestions. Would share ideas. A community of people creating tiny worlds. Meeting in basements and sheds. Marveling at each other's work. The patience required. The skill. The vision. The hundreds of hours represented. The slow accumulation of detail. The building of something that served no practical purpose but brought immense satisfaction. Immense joy. And other crafts. Other ways of making. Tactile art. Many spent their free time practicing macrame, using only rope and patient knots to create textured wall art and plant hangers. Macrame. The art of knotting. Of taking rope or cord and transforming it through knots into something else. Something decorative. Something functional. Something beautiful. It was everywhere for a while. In homes across the world. Plant hangers hanging from ceilings. Wall hangings creating texture. Owls and other designs. All made from knots. From patient, repetitive knotting. You'd start with cord. Usually cotton. Sometimes jute. Cut to specific lengths. Attached to a dowel or ring. And then you'd knot. Following patterns from books or magazines. Or making it up. Square knots. Half hitches. Lark's head knots. Spiral knots. Each one creating a different texture. A different pattern. And slowly, so slowly, the piece would grow, lengthen, take shape. Hours of knotting. Hands working. Following patterns. Finding rhythm. The meditation of it. The repetition. The way your hands learned. Move without thinking. The way the pattern emerged from chaos. From loose strings becoming ordered design. And mistakes happened. Knots tied wrong. Patterns misaligned. And you'd have to undo. Carefully pick apart the knots. Back to where it was right. And start again. Teaching patience. Teaching attention. Teaching that making things takes time. Takes care. Can't be rushed. Must be done properly or not at all. And when finished, when the last knot was tied and the loose ends trimmed or formed into fringe, you'd have something. Something made by you. Something that hadn't existed before you made it. Hanging on your wall. Holding your plants. Decoration. Art. But more than that. Evidence of time spent. Of hands working. Of patience exercised. Of creation. And quiet creativity filled the hours. Creative expression. Quiet hours were filled with drawing, journaling, or playing a musical instrument just for the sake of relaxation. Drawing. Pencil on paper. Or pen. Or charcoal. Sitting at a table. Or outside. Looking at something. Trying to capture it. The way light fell. The shape of a tree. A face. Or not looking at anything. Drawing from imagination. From memory. From the images that arose when you closed your eyes and let your hand move. Not trying to be good. Not trying to create art for others to see. Just drawing. For the sake of drawing. For the meditation of it. The way it focused your mind. The way it required you to really look at things. To see. To notice details you'd otherwise miss. The shadows. The textures. The relationships between shapes. Drawing as seeing. As understanding. As being present with the world in a particular way. Or journaling. Writing by hand. In a notebook. Pages and pages. Not for publication. Not for anyone else. Just for you. Processing your days. Your thoughts. Your feelings. Writing until your hand ached. Until you'd said everything that needed saying. Or sometimes writing nothing of substance. Just putting pen to paper. Letting words flow. The physical act of writing. The connection between hand and thought. The way writing by hand is slower than thinking. Forces you to choose. To distill. To actually consider what you want to say. Or music. An instrument. Guitar. Piano. Flute. Harmonica. Whatever you played. Sitting and playing. Not practicing for a performance. Not learning a new piece. Just playing. Songs you knew by heart. Playing them for the 100th time. Or improvising. Letting your fingers find notes. Find melodies. Find rhythms. The music emerging without plan. Without judgment. Just sound filling the room. Filling the afternoon. The pleasure of it. The way time disappeared when you played. The way nothing else mattered. Just the music. Just the moment. Just the simple joy of making sounds that pleased you. And all of this. All of these activities. All of these ways of spending time. They had something in common. The ease of free time. People found simple ways to enjoy their freedom, focusing on activities that allowed them to truly unplug and drift into a state of calm. Free time felt different then. Felt actually free. Not time stolen from work. Not time that should be used productively. Not time to feel guilty about. Just time. Hours. Afternoons. Days sometimes. With nothing scheduled. Nothing required. No sense that you should be doing something else. Should be checking something. Should be available. Should be reachable. You were just there. In your time. In your afternoon. In your activity. Fully present. Fully engaged. Or fully idle. Both equally okay. Both equally valid. Both equally part of a life well lived. The freedom to be bored. The freedom to putter. The freedom to spend an entire afternoon whittling one piece of wood, or reading one book, or just sitting, watching clouds, thinking about nothing in particular. And this freedom created something. Created space. Space for creativity. For ideas. For connections. For the kind of thinking that doesn't happen when you're constantly stimulated. Constantly entertained. Constantly connected. The kind of thinking that emerges only from boredom. From quiet. From having nothing to do and discovering that in that nothing, everything is possible. So you'd make kites. You'd whittle. You'd knot macrame. You'd draw. You'd play music. You'd build miniature worlds. Not because these things would lead anywhere. Not because you'd become famous or make money or get recognition. But because the doing was enough. The making was the point. The time spent with your hands occupied and your mind free. That was the reward. That was the goal. That was the afternoon well spent. And as you rest here now, as you drift further towards sleep, let yourself imagine that freedom, that ease, those long afternoons with nowhere to be, nothing demanding your attention, just time, and things to do with your hands, and friends stopping by, and games in the yard, and the simple, profound pleasure of making something, of doing something, of being engaged with life in a direct, physical, real way. You can find moments of this still, can choose to unplug, can choose to make something, can choose to sit on a porch and whittle, or not, or draw, or play, can choose afternoons without schedule, without screens, without the constant pull of the digital world, can remember, or can imagine, what it felt like, what it might feel like, to have time that's truly yours, to spend it as you choose, to let it unfold at its own pace, to trust that doing nothing productive is sometimes the most productive thing you can do. Rest now. In that imagined afternoon. In that remembered peace. In the golden light and the simple pleasures and the freedom to simply be. To play. To make. To wander. To discover. To create. Or to do nothing at all. And to feel perfectly content. Perfectly satisfied. Perfectly present in the unfolding of an afternoon that belongs entirely to you. Sleep. And let the games continue in your dreams. Let the kites fly. Let the wood curl away from the knife. Let the knots form patterns. Let the music play. Let the trains run through tiny towns. Let it all continue. In the peaceful space of sleep. Where time doesn't exist. Where afternoons last forever. Where play and creativity and simple pleasure are all that matter. Good night. Rest well. And may your dreams be filled with the golden light of afternoon. The laughter of games. The satisfaction of making. The freedom of time that's truly yours. As the evening air cools, feel it now. That shift in temperature. That change in the quality of light. The world begins to settle into a familiar, shared rhythm. The pace slowing. The day's activities winding down. People returning home. Doors closing. Lights coming on in windows. The neighborhood transforming. Becoming quieter. More intimate. More evening. Imagine a living room bathed in a soft glow. Not the harsh overhead light, but the warm light of lamps. Of the television screen. Casting gentle shadows. Creating a space that feels cozy. Protected. Contained. Where the only sounds are the hum of a television and the quiet conversation of family. Low voices. Comfortable voices. The voices of people who know each other. Who live together. Who share this space and this time. There is nowhere else you need to be. No other commitments. No other places pulling at you. Just here. In this room. With these people. In this moment. This evening. This gathering that happens every night. This ritual of being together. Many nights were spent watching scheduled television shows or late movies, with people planning their entire evening around the exact time a program was on. Scheduled TV. Think about what this meant. What it required. Television wasn't on demand. Wasn't available whenever you wanted it. Shows aired at specific times. And if you wanted to watch them, you had to be there. In front of the television. At that exact time. No pausing. No recording. Well, recording eventually with VCRs. But even that required planning. Preparation. Setting the timer. Making sure there was a blank tape. Making sure nothing went wrong. So you planned around it. I can't come over Thursday at 8. That's when my show is on. And people understood. Accepted this. Because their evenings were structured the same way. Around their shows. Their programs. The things they wanted to watch. Thursday at 8 was this show. Saturday at 7 was that one. Sunday night was something else. The week marked by television. Time structured by broadcast schedules. And you look forward to it. To your show. To that specific half hour or hour. When you'd sit down. Turn on the TV. And watch. Whatever it was. A sitcom. A drama. A variety show. The news. Whatever you'd claimed as yours. Whatever you'd made part of your routine. Part of your week. The anticipation building as the day went on. As the hour approached. Almost time. Almost 8 o'clock. Almost time for my show. And when it started. When the theme song played. There was satisfaction. Comfort. The familiarity of it. Like greeting an old friend. Here it is. My show. Starting exactly when it's supposed to. Exactly as expected. And for the next 30 minutes or hour, you were transported. Entertained. Engaged. Not scrolling. Not distracted. Just watching. Paying attention. Being present with the story. The characters. The jokes. The drama. Whatever it was offering. You received it. Fully. Completely. And if you missed it. If you weren't home. If you forgot. If something came up. That was it. You missed it. Unless there was a rerun. Unless someone told you what happened. but the experience of watching it when it aired, of being part of that shared moment, of everyone watching the same thing at the same time. That was gone. You couldn't get it back. Couldn't stream it later. Couldn't catch up on your own schedule. You either watched it when it aired or you didn't watch it at all. And this created something. A shared culture. A collective experience. Because everyone who watched that show watched it at the same time. And the next day. At work. At school. In neighborhoods. People would talk about it. Did you see last night? Can you believe what happened? A common reference point. A shared experience. Millions of people across the country. Across the world. All watching the same thing. At the same moment. All reacting. All experiencing. All part of something larger than themselves. And television itself was different. Families gathered around a single TV with only a few channels, making the act of watching a shared experience. One television. In most homes. Just one. In the living room usually. Or the family room. The main gathering space. Where everyone could see it. Where everyone could sit. Around this one screen. This one source of broadcast entertainment. And channels. Not hundreds. Not thousands. Just a few. 3. 4. Maybe 5 or 6 if you were lucky. Networks. Local stations. Public broadcasting. That was it. That was all there was. And no cable. Well, cable eventually. But even cable in the early days. Just a few dozen channels. Not the infinite options we have now. Just limited. Finite. Manageable. So watching TV was choosing. Together. As a family. What are we watching tonight? The negotiation. The discussion. Dad wants to watch the news. Mom wants to watch her show. The kids want cartoons or something else. But there's only one TV. So someone has to compromise. Someone has to wait. Someone has to give in. And this negotiation. This family process. It was part of the experience. Part of learning to live together. To share. To take turns. To consider others' preferences alongside your own. And when the choice was made. When agreement was reached. Everyone watched. Together. Sitting in the same room. On the couch. On chairs. On the floor. All facing the same direction. All watching the same screen. Sharing the experience. Laughing at the same jokes. Gasping at the same surprises. Watching together. Even if some people weren't that interested. Even if they'd have preferred something else. They were there. Present. Part of the family unit. Part of the shared evening. And there was conversation. During commercials. During boring parts. Commenting on what was happening. Asking questions. Making jokes. The television is focal point but not the only thing. Not so absorbing that conversation stopped. Not so demanding that everyone disappeared into their own device. Just there. In the middle. Creating shared attention. Shared experience. Shared time. And when the television was off. When the show ended. When the evening programming concluded. When someone decided it was time for something else. The room filled differently. When the TV was off, The room was filled with the warm sound of records or cassettes playing softly in the background. Music. Analog music. Physical music. Records. Those large black vinyl discs. 12 inches across. Heavy. With grooves spiraling from edge to center. Each groove containing sound. Capturing it physically. Mechanically. The music pressed into the vinyl. Waiting to be released. To be played. To fill the room once again. You'd select a record. From the collection. Flip through them. Reading spines. Looking at covers. Deciding what fit the mood. What you wanted to hear. Jazz maybe. Classical. Rock. Folk. Whatever you owned. Whatever you'd collected. Each record representing a choice. A purchase. Money spent. A commitment to this music. This artist. This album. And you'd slide it from its sleeve. Carefully. Touching only the edges. Not the grooves. Never the grooves. The oils from fingers could damage them. Could create pops and clicks. Could ruin the sound. So carefully. Reverently almost. Placing it on the turntable. The platter. Spinning. Already spinning at 33 1/3 revolutions per minute. That specific speed. That magical number. That allowed the grooves to be read properly. To sound right. And lowering the needle. The stylus. Into the groove. That moment of contact. The slight crackle. The surface noise. And then, music. Filling the room. Not from speakers in the ceiling. Not from a sound system wired throughout the house. Just from the record player. From the speakers beside it or built into it. The sound local. Specific. Coming from that corner. That piece of furniture. Real. Physical. Tangible. And the warmth of it. Analog sound as warmth. A quality. A character. Not perfect. Not crystal clear. A little fuzzy around the edges. A little imprecise. But warm. Full. Rich. The music breathing. Living. Present in the room in a way that digital music somehow isn't. Or maybe it's just memory. Maybe it's just association. Maybe analog doesn't actually sound better. But it felt better. Felt warmer. Felt more there. And you've let it play. The whole side. You couldn't skip tracks. Couldn't shuffle. Couldn't customize a playlist. You listened to side A. All of side A. In the order the artist intended. The album as complete work. As journey. As statement. And when it ended. When the needle reached the center and the automatic arm lifted and returned. You'd flip it. To side B, continue. Or choose something else. But always the whole side. Always the complete experience. Or cassettes. Smaller. More portable. Able to be recorded. To be customized. Mixtapes. Hours spent. Curating. Selecting songs. Recording them. In order. Creating something. A playlist before playlists. A personal statement. A gift sometimes. For friends. For crushes. Here. This is what I want you to hear. This is how these songs fit together. This is the journey I want to take you on. Listen. Please listen. And playing in the background. While you did other things. While you talked. While you read. while you existed in the evening. The music there. Present. But not demanding. Not commanding full attention. Just accompanying. Making the space richer. Fuller. More complete. And for young people especially. For teenagers. For those old enough to have friends but not old enough to go out freely. Evening had a particular focus. Phone calls were a major evening activity, especially for teenagers who would talk for hours on landline phones until someone else in the house needed the line. The phone. The landline. The telephone connected by wire to the wall. To the house. One phone. Or maybe a few phones. But all connected to the same line. The same number. If someone called, every phone in the house rang. If someone was on the phone, the line was busy. No one else could call. No one else could use it. One conversation at a time. One connection. That was it. And teenagers. Oh, teenagers and phones. An eternal connection. An endless need to talk. To connect. To share. To be with friends. But if you couldn't be together physically, if you couldn't go out, if it was evening and homework was done and nothing else was happening, you called. You picked up the phone. Dialed. The rotary dial. Your finger in each number's hole. Turning. Releasing. The satisfying click 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 as it returned. Or later. Push buttons. Beep beep beep. The tones. Each number its own pitch. Its own sound. And the phone rang in your friend's house. And they answered. Or their parent answered. Hello? Hi, is Sarah there? Just a moment. And waiting. Hearing the phone being put down. Voices in the background. Sarah. Phone. And then they'd pick up. Hello? Hey, it's me. And that was enough. That simple identification. Because you recognized each other's voices. Because of course it was you. Who else would be calling? And you'd talk. For hours. Literally hours. About everything. About nothing. About what happened at school. About who said what. About who liked who. About plans. About dreams. About fears. About homework. About TV shows. About music. About life. The conversation wandering. Digressing. Coming back. Going elsewhere. No structure. No agenda. Just talking. The pleasure of connection. Of being heard. Of sharing. Of not being alone. And the phone cord. Getting tangled. Getting wrapped around you as you walked. As you moved. Because you couldn't sit still. Had to move. Had to gesture even though they couldn't see you. The cord stretching. Tangling. Until eventually you'd have to stop. Untangle it. Carefully unwinding. Untwisting. And then continuing. The conversation never stopping. Just pausing while you dealt with the cord. And eventually. Inevitably. Someone else in the house would need the phone. Would need to make a call. Would need the line. I need to use the phone. Just a few more minutes. You've been on for 2 hours. Please. Just a little longer. The negotiation. The reluctance. The eventual acceptance. I have to go. Okay. Call me later. I will. Even though later meant tomorrow. Meant the next time you could. The next evening. The next chance. Because the phone was shared. Was limited. Was a resource to be negotiated and shared and eventually released. And some evenings were special. Marked. Different from the routine. Some nights were special movie nights, dedicated to watching a rented VHS or DVD that had been carefully picked from a video store earlier in the day. The video store. That destination. That temple to movies. Rows and rows of tapes. Later DVDs. New releases along the wall. Recent movies. Popular movies. The ones everyone wanted. The ones that might be rented out. Might not be available. And the rest of the store. Genres. Sections. Comedy. Drama. Action. Horror. Family. Each one full of options. Of possibilities. Of potential evenings. And you'd go. After dinner maybe. Or earlier in the day. Planning ahead. Making sure you got what you wanted. Walking the aisles. Looking at boxes. Reading descriptions. Considering. This one? Or that one? What are you in the mood for? What does everyone want to watch? The family negotiation happening in the store. Among the shelves. Each person lobbying for their preference. Their choice. And choosing. Finally deciding. Pulling the box from the shelf. Taking it to the counter. Hoping the tape was there. Was in the box. Wasn't rented out despite the box being on the shelf. The disappointment when it wasn't there. The relief when it was. Handing over your membership card. The employee scanning. Processing. Due back in 2 days. Or one night for new releases. The tape in a plastic bag. Coming home with you. Your evening secured. Your entertainment guaranteed. And the ritual of watching. Making popcorn. Dimming lights. Everyone gathering. The tape inserted. Rewound first if the last person didn't rewind it. Be kind, rewind. The slogan. The request. The courtesy. And then playing. The previews. Other movies. Coming soon. You couldn't skip them. Just watched. Or talked through them. And then the movie. The feature. What you'd come for. What you'd chosen. Everyone watching together. The shared experience. The movie night. The special evening. Different from regular TV. More intentional. More valued. More event. And sometimes. Often actually. The evening was about games. Tabletop traditions. Board games and card games were often saved for these quiet evenings, with families playing chess or Monopoly at the kitchen table. The kitchen table. Cleared after dinner. Cleaned. Ready. And someone would suggest it. Want to play a game? And yes. The consensus. The agreement. And deciding what. What game. What would be fun. What hadn't been played in a while. What fit the mood. The number of players. The time available. And getting out the box. From the closet. From the shelf. The familiar box. Worn at the corners. Tape holding it together maybe. Opened hundreds of times. holding pieces and boards and cards and dice and everything needed. Everything that made this game. Setting up. Unfolding the board. Distributing pieces. Shuffling cards. Everyone taking their place. Around the table. Ready. And playing. For hours. Monopoly taking forever. 3 hours. 4 hours. Someone dominating. Someone going bankrupt. Someone making deals. Trading properties. Negotiating. The game creating drama. Creating tension. Creating laughter. Friendly competition. Sibling rivalry. Parent-child dynamics. All playing out through the mechanics of buying and selling and rent and chance. Or chess. Just 2 players. The others watching. Advising. Rooting for one side or the other. The game slow. Thoughtful. Each move considered. The board changing. Pieces captured. Positions developing. Strategy unfolding. Time passing in concentration. In the pleasure of thinking ahead. Of seeing patterns. Of the beautiful logic of chess revealing itself move by move. Or card games. Rummy. Hearts. Spades. Bridge. Whatever the family played. Whatever they knew. The cards shuffled. Dealt. Examined. Strategies forming. Tricks taken. Points counted. Keeping score on paper. By hand. Running totals. The lead changing. The competition real but friendly. The pleasure not in winning necessarily, but in playing. In being together. In the shared activity. The shared evening. And for some. For many. The evening meant leaving the house. Going out. For others, the night meant heading out to the pub, a diner, or a bowling alley to talk and laugh with friends. The social evening. The public evening. Not staying home. But going where people gathered. Where community happened. Where the evening's entertainment was each other. Was conversation. Was shared activity. Was being out in the world together. The pub. The local. The place you went. Where everyone went. Where you'd see familiar faces. Where the bartender knew your name. Knew your drink. A space neither private nor fully public. Semi-private. Communal. A room full of people drinking. Talking. Laughing. Music playing. Maybe a jukebox. Maybe a band. Maybe just the radio. But always voices. Always the hum of conversation. The warmth of human presence. Human connection. And you'd sit. At a table. At the bar. With friends. With neighbors. With whoever was there. And you'd drink. Beer. Wine. Whiskey. Whatever. The drinking not the point. Or not the only point. But the social lubricant. The excuse. The occupation. Something to do with your hands. Something to sip while you talked. While you listened. While you existed together in this space. And you talk. About work. About family. About sports. about politics, about nothing important, about everything important. The conversation flowing, meandering, jokes told, stories shared, laughter erupting, the evening passing in pleasant company, in the comfort of familiar place and familiar people. The regularity of it, the routine. Thursday night at the pub, Friday after work, whenever. The regular gathering, the reliable connection, the place where you belonged, where you were known, where you could be yourself. Or the diner, open late, maybe 24 hours. Vinyl booths, formica tables, coffee always fresh, food simple and good, burgers, fries, pie, the classics, the comfort food, and gathering there, after a movie, after an event, after work, whenever, sliding into a booth, ordering coffee, maybe food, maybe just coffee, and sitting for hours, talking, the diner accommodating, tolerant, not rushing you, not pushing you out to make room for other customers, just letting you be, letting you sit, letting you gather. The waitress knowing you, coming by regularly, refilling coffee, checking in, part of the experience, part of the community. The diner is third place, not home, not work, but another place, a public place that felt almost private, almost like a living room, almost like yours. Or bowling, the bowling alley, renting shoes, getting a lane, keeping score by hand, on paper, with the little pencils, your name, your friends' names, boxes for each frame, tracking strikes and spares and splits and gutters, and bowling. Taking turns, the weight of the ball, the approach, the release, the sound of ball on lane, on pins, the crash, the satisfaction of a strike, the frustration of a gutter ball, the teasing, the encouragement, the competition not serious, not important. Just fun. Just activity. Just something to do together. While talking. While laughing. While being. And for those who preferred quiet. Who preferred stillness. Who preferred their own thoughts. The porch sanctuary. Many people simply sat outside on porches or balconies, looking at the stars and the quiet street in peaceful silence. The porch. The front porch. The back deck. The balcony. That space between inside and outside. Not quite either. Both. A threshold. A liminal space. Where you could sit. In a chair. On a swing. On steps, and be outside, in the evening air, in the cooling temperature, feeling the shift from day to night, but also protected, sheltered, still connected to home, to inside, to safety, and sitting, just sitting, looking out, at the street, at the yard, at the trees, At the sky. Watching evening deepen. Lights coming on. Stars appearing. One by one. More and more as the sky darkened. The moon rising if it was that time of month. The phases obvious. Unavoidable. Impossible to ignore when you looked up regularly. When you paid attention to the sky. And listening. To crickets. To frogs. To night birds. To the distant sound of traffic. Of a dog barking. Of a door closing. Of voices from neighboring houses. The sounds of evening. Of community. Of people living near each other. Around each other. The soundscape of inhabited space. Of neighborhood. Of place. And sometimes talking. If someone else was there. A partner. A friend. A neighbor who walked by and stopped. But often not talking. Often just sitting. In comfortable silence. In the peace of not needing to say anything. Of presence being enough. Of shared space and shared time not requiring words. Just being together. Or being alone. But outside. In the evening. Under the sky. Part of the world in a different way than being inside. More connected. More present. More there. And for the night owls. For those who didn't sleep early. Who stayed up. Who found the late hours most their own. The night owl's ritual. Those who stayed up late often enjoyed a mix of quiet activities, a little music, a snack, and a bit of reading, until they finally felt ready to sleep. The house quiet. Everyone else asleep. The lights low. And you awake. Not wanting to sleep yet. Not ready. Finding pleasure in the lateness. In being the only one awake. In having the house to yourself. The world to yourself. The night yours in a way the day never was. And music. Softly. Not to wake anyone. Just for you. Whatever suited the mood. The hour. The feeling. Jazz maybe. Something contemplative. Something that matched the darkness. The quietness. The introspective quality of late night. And a snack. Made quietly. Prepared in the dim kitchen. Toast maybe. Tea. Something simple. Something comforting. Taken back to your space. Your chair. Your corner. Consumed slowly. Savored. The taste enhanced by the hour. By the quiet. By the solitude. And reading. A book. A magazine. Something engaging enough to hold attention but not so exciting that it prevented eventual sleep. Reading until your eyes grew heavy. Until you read the same sentence twice without absorbing it. Until finally, you were ready. Ready to put the book down. Turn off the light. Make your way to bed. To sleep. The day complete. The night satisfied. The late hours honored. And for some, the transition to sleep needed help. Needed company. Radio companionship. Some chose to lie in bed with headphones or a small radio, letting the music or a distant broadcast carry them towards sleep. The bedside radio. Small. Simple. With a dial you turn to find stations. Frequencies. AM, FM, the static between stations, the search for something clear, something interesting, something that spoke to you in this moment, this late hour, or headphones, connected by wire to the radio, or to a cassette player, or later a CD player, lying in bed, in darkness, the headphones on, or maybe just earbuds, the sound isolated, just for you, not disturbing anyone, not competing with anything, just filling your ears, your head, your consciousness, and music playing, or talk radio, someone speaking softly, about something, about anything, the content not really matching, the voice matching, the companionship matching, not being alone in the darkness, having sound, having presence, having something to focus on other than your own thoughts, other than the silence, other than the waiting for sleep, or late-night programs, radio dramas maybe, call-in shows, people sharing stories, sharing problems, sharing lives, with a host, with other listeners scattered across the darkness, across the city, the country, all awake, all listening, all connected by this broadcast, this signal traveling through the air, reaching everyone simultaneously, creating temporary community among the sleepless, among the night people, among those not yet ready to let go of consciousness, to surrender to sleep, and eventually, finally, the radio becoming background, the sounds fading, your attention drifting, the border between waking and sleeping dissolving, and sleep arriving, without you noticing exactly when, just arriving, while the radio played on, while the music or voices continued, accompanying you into sleep, into dreams, into the night's rest, until morning, when you'd wake, the radio still on, or the cassette finished, the headphones still on your head or fallen away in the night, evidence of the ritual, of the companionship, of the way you chose to end your day, to enter sleep, to let go of evening and embrace night. And as you rest here now, as you feel sleep approaching, let yourself imagine those evenings, that shared screen, those conversations on landlines, those video rental nights and board games and nights at the pub and hours on the porch. The ways people gathered, connected, spent time together, without screens in pockets, without devices dividing attention, just together, in shared space, shared time, creating memories, building relationships, being present with each other in ways that were simple, direct, real. You can find moments of this still, can gather around a screen together, can play a game, can sit outside and watch the stars, can talk on the phone for hours if you choose, can make these things priority, can remember, or can create new versions, new rituals, new ways of being together that honor the spirit of those old ways, that value presence, connection, shared experience, the simple pleasure of being with people you care about, without distraction, without division. Just together. Rest now. In that togetherness. In that shared warmth. In the glow of the single screen. In the sound of voices on the phone. In the pleasure of games and going out and sitting on porches. In all the ways people connected. All the ways they still can. All the ways you can. Tomorrow. And the days after. Choosing presence. Choosing connection. Choosing to gather and share and be together in simple, meaningful ways. Sleep. And let the evening settle over you. Let the shared screen flicker in dreams. Let the phone conversations continue in sleep. Let the music play on. Let the stars shine above the porch. Let it all blend into the peaceful darkness of night. Of rest. Of sleep arriving gently. Carrying you into morning. Good night. Rest deeply. And may your dreams be filled with warm rooms and gentle voices and the simple joy of being together in the soft glow of evening, before internet, before isolation, before everyone retreated into separate screens, separate worlds. Just together. Just connected. Just there. As we reach the deepest part of the night, let yourself sink even further. Deeper into the mattress. Deeper into relaxation. Deeper into the space between waking and sleeping. We look at the quiet, tactile hobbies that fill the hours. The solitary pursuits. The patient practices. The activities that required nothing but time and attention, and the gentle, steady movement of hands creating something from almost nothing. Imagine the focused, calm energy of someone creating a miniature world or organizing a collection of small treasures. That quality of attention. That state of absorption. When time disappears. When nothing exists except the task at hand. The tiny piece you're placing. The object you're examining. The pattern you're creating. The world narrowing to just this. Just now. Just the work of your hands and the satisfaction of slow progress. Of accumulation. Of building something piece by piece. Day by day. Hour by patient hour. Let these slow, steady images guide you into a restful slumber. Let them wash over you like waves. Like the rhythm of breathing. Like the gentle repetition of any meditative practice. Each image a stone smoothing in the tumbler of your mind. Each hobby a doorway into peace. Into the kind of focus that is also rest. The kind of activity that is also meditation. The kind of doing that leads naturally to letting go. The miniature rail world. Some enthusiasts turn their basements or sheds into huge miniature rail worlds, spending months wiring tiny lights and painting mountains. We touched on this before. But let's go deeper now. Into the real obsession. The true dedication. The way this hobby could consume years. Decades. A lifetime of building. Refining. Expanding. Creating. The basement. Unfinished maybe. Concrete floor. Exposed beams. Not a living space. Not meant for comfort. But transformed. Claimed. Dedicated entirely to the creation of a world. A miniature world. A parallel universe at a scale of 1 to 87. Or 1 to 160. HO scale. N scale. The numbers meaning something specific. Exact. the relationship between the model and the reality it represents, and the building, starting with benchwork, the platforms, the framework, wood framing, creating levels, creating the landscape's bones, where the tracks would go, where the towns would sit, where mountains would rise. All planned, sketched on paper first, then measured, cut, assembled, screwed together, creating a three-dimensional canvas, a foundation for everything that would come after. And the track, laid carefully, testing each section, making sure the electricity flowed, making sure trains could run smoothly. No bumps, no derailments. The track becoming the nervous system of the layout, the pathway that everything else would be built around. Towns along the track, industries served by the track, the entire world existing because of and for the railroad. And then the scenery. This is where months turned into years, where the real artistry emerged. Starting with basic shapes, cardboard strips, plaster cloth, creating forms, hills, mountains, valleys, the basic geography, then plaster, sculpting, carving, creating texture, rock faces, cliff edges, the variation that makes landscape real, that makes it believable. And painting, not with big brushes, with small ones, with sponges, with airbrushes, layer after layer of color, earth tones, greens, browns, grays, highlighting and shadowing, making flat surfaces look dimensional, making painted plaster look like actual stone, like actual earth. The illusion building, the transformation happening slowly as paint dried and was painted over and dried again. And trees, hundreds of trees, maybe thousands, each one placed individually, some commercial, bought from hobby shops, but many handmade, twisted wire for branches, ground foam for foliage, each tree positioned, glued, secured, creating forests, creating the sense of wilderness, of nature, of life beyond the railroad. And buildings, kits assembled, or scratch built, from cardboard, from wood, from plastic, each one painted, detailed, windows that look like windows, doors that look like doors, signs, weathering, the effects of time and use, making new plastic look old, look real, look lived in. And the lights. Oh, the lights. Tiny LEDs. Wired individually. Each one soldered. Each one tested. Lights in buildings. Street lights. Traffic lights. Headlights on vehicles. All wired. All connected to switches. To dimmers. To controllers. So you could turn off the room lights. And turn on the layout. And watch it come alive. Watch it transform from model to world. From miniature to reality. The illusion nearly complete. And the trains. Finally. After all the building. After all the scenery, the trains, running, through the world you created, through towns you built, past mountains you shaped, the tiny locomotives pulling tiny cars, hauling miniature cargo, operating on schedules you created, switching in yards you designed, the entire system functioning, working, real in every way that mattered. And visitors, other hobbyists, would come, would marvel, would spend hours looking, pointing out details, asking about techniques, sharing ideas. The community of model railroaders recognizing the work, the skill, the patience, the dedication, the thousands of hours represented in every square foot of layout, the obsession given form, given beauty, given meaning, and the builder, standing back, watching the trains run, feeling satisfaction, not completion, never completion, always more to do, more to add, more to improve, but satisfaction, the deep satisfaction of creating something meaningful, something beautiful, something that would outlast them, that represented their patience, their skill, their vision, their life's work made manifest in miniature. Another hobby required even more patience, even more waiting. The rhythm of the tumbler. Rock tumbling was a popular hobby. People put rough stones into noisy tumblers for weeks until they became smooth, shiny gems. Rock tumbling. The slowest hobby. The most patient. Starting with rough rocks. Found rocks. Collected from beaches or rivers or mountains or deserts. Rocks that looked interesting. That had potential. That might be beautiful underneath their rough exterior. Might contain color, pattern, value. You couldn't know. Not yet. Not until they were polished. Not until weeks of tumbling revealed what was hidden inside. The tumbler itself. A simple machine. A barrel. Rubber-lined. That rotated. Slowly. Constantly. Turned by a small motor. Round and round. 24 hours a day. 7 days a week. For weeks on end. The barrel rotating. The contents inside tumbling. Falling. Grinding against each other. Slowly wearing away the rough exterior. Slowly revealing what lay beneath. You'd load the barrel. The rocks. Rough. Angular. Sharp-edged. And grit. Silicon carbide grit. Very coarse for the first stage. Like sandpaper. But as powder. Mixed with water. Creating slurry. Abrasive slurry. That would grind away the rough surface as the rocks tumbled against each other. Against the grit. Against the barrel walls. And then you'd seal it. Start the motor. And wait. For a week. Maybe 2. The barrel rotating. The rocks inside tumbling. The noise constant. A distinctive sound. A rolling. A grinding. Not loud exactly. But present. Always there. Day and night. The tumbler working while you slept. While you were at work. While you lived your life. slowly transforming the rocks inside. And after a week, 2 weeks, you'd open the barrel, drain the slurry, rinse the rocks, and see the progress. The rocks smoother now, smaller, their sharp edges gone, their rough surfaces worn away, starting to reveal their character, their color, their potential. But not done, not nearly done. Still dull, still rough, still needing more. So you'd reload, with finer grit this time, medium grit, and seal it again. Start the motor again. Wait again. Another week. 2 weeks. The process repeating. The rocks tumbling, grinding, smoothing, gradually transforming from rough to smooth, from dull to starting to shine. And again. Fine grit this time. And again. For weeks more. And then polish. Actual polish instead of grit. Aluminum oxide usually. Or cerium oxide. Polishing compounds that would bring up the shine. The final stage. The last step. Running for another week. 2 weeks. Until finally, you could open the barrel and see what you created. What had been revealed. And pouring them out. Rinsing them clean. And seeing, for the first time, the true stones. Smooth. Polished. Shining. Colors bright. Patterns clear. Each one transformed. Each one beautiful. Agates with their bands. Jaspers with their colors. Quartzes catching light. Each stone that had been rough and unremarkable now a gem. Not valuable necessarily, but beautiful. Precious. Because of what you'd done. Because of the time you'd invested. Because of the patience you'd shown. Because you'd waited weeks to see this result. This transformation. This revelation. And you'd sort them. Display them. Show them to friends. To family. These were rough rocks. Look at them now. The pride. The satisfaction. The pleasure of having taken something raw from nature and refined it. Revealed it. Made its hidden beauty visible. And starting again. New rocks. New batch. The tumbler loaded and sealed and started. The weeks of waiting beginning again. Because the waiting was part of it. The patience was the practice. The slow transformation was the reward. And some collections required no machines. Just eyes. Just attention. Just the willingness to look carefully at everyday objects. The historians change. Coin collectors would carefully inspect their change or visit dealers to find unusual coins, treating each one like a small piece of history. Coin collecting. Numismatics. The formal name. But really just looking at change. Looking carefully. Paying attention to what passed through your hands every day. The pennies and nickels and dimes and quarters. The everyday currency. Usually ignored. Usually just spent. But to a collector, each one was possibility. Each one might be special. Rare. Valuable. Worth keeping. And you'd check. Every coin. Every piece of change. Before spending it. Before putting it away. Looking at the date first. When was it minted? Recent coins were common. Worthless to collect. But older ones. pre-1965 quarters. Silver. Valuable. Wheat pennies. Buffalo nickels. Old dimes. Coins from before you were born. Before your parents were born. Still in circulation. Still being used. Still finding their way into your change. If you paid attention. If you looked. And checking mint marks. The tiny letter indicating where the coin was made. Philadelphia. Denver. San Francisco. Some mint marks rarer than others. More valuable. A 1955 double-die penny. Worth thousands. Because of a mistake in minting. Because the die struck twice. Creating doubling in the image. Rare. Valuable. And possibly in your change. If you looked. If you noticed. If you paid attention. And condition. How worn was the coin? Heavily circulated coins were common. But uncirculated ones. Never spent. Never worn. Fresh from the mint. These were treasures. Worth keeping. Worth protecting. In special holders. In albums. Organized by date. By mint mark. By denomination. Building a collection. Filling holes in the album. Searching for the missing dates. The rare varieties. The special coins that would complete the set. And visiting dealers. Coin shops. With cases full of coins. Organized. Priced. Available for purchase. Spending hours looking. Comparing. Deciding. Buying the coins you couldn't find in change. The ones too rare. Too valuable. Too old. Building your collection deliberately. Investing money. But also knowledge. Learning about minting. About varieties. About grading. About the history behind each coin. The economic conditions. The political situations. Each coin a piece of history. A tangible connection to the past. To the time when it was new. When it first entered circulation. When it bought something. Paid for some transaction now forgotten. Some moment in history now lost except for this coin. This physical evidence. This small piece of metal that survived when everything else was lost. Another collection came through the mail. The stamp album. Stamp collectors spent hours hunting for rare stamps in the mail and organizing them into albums by theme or country. Stamp collecting. Philately. Another window into history. Into geography. Into art. Because stamps were all of these. Were functional. Serving to pay postage. To move mail. But also beautiful. Miniature artworks. And historical. Commemorating events. People. Anniversaries. And geographical. Each country producing its own. Each one reflecting national identity. National pride. National history. And collecting meant watching the mail. Every day. What came? Who sent letters? What stamps did they use? Common stamps were collected. Filled albums. But you watched for unusual ones. Old ones. Foreign ones. Stamps from countries you'd never heard of. Stamps showing things you'd never seen. Each one a small treasure. A small window into somewhere else. Sometime else. And soaking. Taking envelopes with stamps you wanted. Soaking them in water. Gently. Until the glue dissolved. The stamp floating free. Drying it. Carefully. Between pages of newspaper. Weighted down. Flat. Preserving it. Preparing it for the album. And the album. Pages and pages. Organized by country. Or by theme. Birds on stamps. Ships, flowers, Olympics, United Nations. Whatever interested you. Stamps mounted carefully. With hinges. Small pieces of folded glued paper. That allowed the stamp to be attached but also lifted to see the back. To examine. To appreciate fully. And gaps in the collection. Empty spaces. For stamps you didn't have yet. Rare ones. Expensive ones. Old ones. The joy of finding one. Of filling a gap. Of completing a page. A set. A country's issues from a particular year. The satisfaction of completion. Of organization. Of knowing your collection. Every stamp. Every detail. And catalogs. Scott. Stanley Gibbons. Reference books listing every stamp. Every variety. Every printing. With values. With descriptions. With histories. Studying. Learning. Becoming expert in tiny pieces of printed paper. In the miniature artworks that facilitated global communication. That made letters possible. That connected the world. And trading. With other collectors. By mail. At club meetings. I'll trade you 3 of these for one of those. Negotiating. Valuing. Building relationships. The community of collectors. All passionate about the same thing. All finding meaning in small pieces of gum paper. All connected by this shared interest. This shared obsession. And unlike stamps that came to you, some collections you built yourself. One encounter at a time. Matchbook treasures. Because restaurants and bars gave them out, people collected thousands of colorful matchbooks, storing them in binders to remember places they had been. Matchbooks. Free. Everywhere. Before smoking became uncommon. Before flame became digital. Before restaurants stopped offering them. Matchbooks were promotional items. Advertising. Each one printed with the name of an establishment. A restaurant. A hotel. A bar. A casino. Each one unique. Different design. Different colors. Different text. Small cardboard folders containing matches. Functional but also collectible. Also beautiful in their miniature way. And collecting. Simply by going places. And asking, "May I have a matchbook?" At the cash register. At the hostess stand. And they hand you one. Free. Promotional material. Meant to be taken. Meant to spread the name. The brand. The location. And you'd take it. Not to use necessarily. Not to light matches. But to keep. To remember. To prove you'd been there. To build the collection. Thousands of them. Over years. From every restaurant you ate at. Every hotel you stayed in. Every bar you visited. Every trip. Every vacation. Every night out. Each one a memory. A small cardboard reminder. I was here. This place existed. I experienced it. The collection becoming autobiography. Becoming travelogue. Becoming record of a life lived in public spaces. In restaurants and hotels and bars across the country. Across the world. And storing them. Not in boxes. Not in drawers. But in binders. Special binders with clear plastic pages. Designed for baseball cards but perfect for matchbooks. Sliding them in. One per pocket. Organized maybe. By location. By date. By color. Or not organized. Just accumulated. Just collected. The binders filling. Shelves filling. The collection growing. And looking through them. Years later. Decades later. and remembering. Or not remembering. But seeing. We stayed here in 1972. This restaurant closed years ago. I don't even remember this place. But the matchbook survived. The evidence remained. Small cardboard. Time capsules. Preserving not just the names but the design aesthetics. The typography. The style. Of their era. Of their place. Of their moment in time. Another way to preserve time was through nature itself. Press nature. Hobbyists preserve the beauty of the outdoors by pressing flowers and leaves in heavy books to decorate cards and bookmarks. Flower pressing. Leaf pressing. Capturing nature. Preserving it. Making it permanent. Or as permanent as paper and pressed plants could be. Finding beauty outdoors. A perfect flower. A beautiful leaf. One without damage. Without spots. Fresh. Vibrant. And wanting to keep it. To preserve it. To make it last beyond its natural lifespan. And pressing. The simple technology. Placing the flower or leaf between sheets of paper. White paper. Absorbent paper. Inside a book. A heavy book. Encyclopedia. Dictionary. Phone book. Closing it. Stacking more books on top. Weight. Pressure. Squeezing out moisture. Flattening the plant. Preserving its shape. Its color. While it dried slowly. Slowly. Over days. Weeks even. The moisture transferring to the paper. The plant drying flat. Becoming pressed. Becoming preserved. And waiting. Not checking too often. Not disturbing the process. Just letting time and weight and paper do their work. And then, when enough time had passed, opening the book. Carefully. And seeing. The flower pressed flat. The leaf perfectly preserved. Colors faded slightly. But still recognizable. Still beautiful. Still the flower or leaf it had been. But now permanent. Now usable. Now ready to be incorporated into art. And using them. Gluing them onto cards. Onto bookmarks. Onto paper. Creating arrangements. Compositions. Multiple flowers. Leaves. Ferns. All pressed. All preserved. All arranged into pleasing patterns. Adding labels maybe. Writing the name. The date found. The location. Making the bookmark informative. Educational. Or just decorative. Just beautiful. A pressed flower on cream paper. Simple. Elegant. A gift. A treasure. A preserved moment of natural beauty. And over time. Years. The pressed plants fading more. Becoming more fragile. More delicate. But still there. Still pressed between pages or mounted on paper. Still evidence of attention paid. Of beauty noticed and preserved. Of the natural world brought inside. Made permanent. Made keepable. Another craft required different materials but similar patience. The art of knots. Through macrame, people used only rope and patient knots to create intricate wall art and plant hangers. We mentioned macrame before. But let's linger here. In the patience of it. The meditation. The rhythm. Starting with cord. Cut to specific lengths. Multiple cords. Many meters each. Attached to a dowel. Or a ring. All hanging down. Ready. And then knotting. Beginning the pattern. Following instructions. Or following your own design. Your own vision. Square knots. The basic building block. 4 cords. working the outer two, left over and under the center two, right over and under, tightening, one knot, then repeating, creating a spiral, or alternating, creating a flat pattern, over and over, the same motion, the same process, building, the piece growing, slowly, centimeter by centimeter, the pattern emerging, and half hitches, spiral patterns, vertical patterns, each knot requiring the cord to loop, to wrap, to pull through, your fingers learning, developing muscle memory, no longer needing to think, just knotting, the rhythm taking over, the meditation beginning, time disappearing, just you and the cord and the pattern growing in your hands, hours passing, sessions across days, weeks, the piece growing longer, more complex, more beautiful, and finally finishing, the last knot tied, the ends trimmed or left as fringe, and the completed piece, the wall hanging, the plant hanger, the whatever it was, finished, complete, ready to hang, to use, to admire, the hours of knotting resulting in this object, this artwork, this evidence of patience and skill and dedication, and hanging it on a wall, from a ceiling, putting a plant in the macrame hanger, watching it hang, suspended, beautiful, functional, made by you, from rope, from knots, from time and patience, nothing more, nothing complicated, just patience, just attention, just the steady, rhythmic work of hands creating knot after knot after knot, until enough knots became something else, became art, became decoration, became meaningful. Paper could become art too, through patience, through rolling, paper coils. Crafters practice quilling, rolling thin strips of paper into delicate coils to create fancy greeting cards and pictures. Quilling, paper filigree, ancient craft, simple materials, strips of paper, thin strips, narrow, cut precisely, different colors, and a tool, a slotted tool, or just a toothpick, something to wrap the paper around, to create coils, and glue, to secure the coils, to attach them, and rolling, taking a strip, inserting the end into the tool slot, and rolling, turning the tool, the paper wrapping around, creating a tight coil, rolling the entire length, then sliding it off the tool, letting it expand slightly to the desired size, then gluing the end, securing it, one coil, complete, and shaping. Not all coils stayed round. Some were pinched, creating teardrops, crescents, triangles, hearts, different shapes from the same basic coil, pinched and positioned, each shape precise, each shape intentional, each shape part of a larger design, and assembling, gluing the shaped coils onto paper, onto cards, creating pictures, flowers, each petal a shaped coil, leaves, birds, abstract designs, whatever the imagination suggested, whatever the coils could form, building the image coil by coil, color by color, each piece glued carefully, positioned exactly, the design emerging gradually, the picture becoming complete, and the delicacy, the intricacy, the paper coils creating texture, dimension, the flat card becoming sculptural, three-dimensional, the light catching the curved edges of the coils, creating shadows, creating interest, creating beauty from simple strips of rolled paper. Hours of rolling and shaping and gluing resulting in a greeting card. A picture. A piece of art. To give. To keep. To frame. To treasure. And then there was music. Personal music. Curated music. The perfect mixtape. Music lovers spent hours recording songs from the radio onto cassettes, carefully planning the order of every track. The mixtape. The perfect mixtape. The holy grail. The artistic statement. The personal gift. The carefully curated collection of songs. Not random. Not shuffled. But chosen. Ordered. Intentional. Every song placed exactly where it belonged. Every transition considered. Every moment planned. Starting with blank tape. A cassette. 60 minutes. 90 minutes. Enough space for a certain number of songs. And considering. What's the purpose? Is this for you? For someone else? Is it for driving? For falling asleep? For working out? For a specific mood? A specific message? Each tape had purpose. Had intention. And song selection. This was crucial. What goes on the tape? What represents you? What represents the moment? The feeling you want to convey? The journey you want to create? Listening to your record collection. To the radio. To borrowed albums. Finding the songs. The right songs. Not just good songs. But the right ones. For this tape. For this purpose. And order. This mattered enormously. You couldn't just list songs randomly. The order created the experience. The flow. The narrative. Opening song. Has to grab attention. Has to set the tone. Has to announce what this tape is about. Then building. Momentum. Energy. Or calm. Whatever the tape required. Peaks and valleys. Loud songs. Quiet songs. Fast and slow. Creating dynamics. Creating interest. Creating a journey from start to finish. And transitions. How one song ends and the next begins. Do they flow? Do they clash? Is the clash intentional? Creating contrast? Creating surprise? Or is smoothness better? Creating seamlessness? Creating flow? Every transition considered. Every gap measured. Some tapes with gaps. Some without. Silent seconds between songs. Or immediate starts. All intentional. All planned. And recording. This required presence. Attention. You couldn't just hit record and leave. You had to be there. Ready. Waiting for the song to start on the radio. Or lowering the needle on the record. Starting the cassette recorder at exactly the right moment. Not too early. Not too late. And monitoring. Making sure levels were right. Making sure the recording was clean. Was good. Was worthy of the tape. And the limitations. Each side had limited time. Had to fit. Had to work. Couldn't go over. So measuring. Calculating. Song lengths adding up. Does it fit? Do you need to choose different songs? Shorter songs? Or is there space? Can you fit one more? The puzzle. The challenge. Making it work. Making it perfect. Making it fit exactly. And decorating. The J card. The paper insert. Where you wrote the song list. Song titles. Artists. Side A, Side B. Your handwriting. Making it neat. making it readable, making it beautiful, or drawing, adding artwork, adding personality, making the tape not just a collection of songs but a complete object, a gift, a statement, something physical, something tangible, something that represented you, your taste, your care, your time spent creating this perfect sequence of music, and giving it to someone. I made this for you. The tape, the J card, the hours represented, the thought, the intention, the careful curation, all given, all shared, the recipient understanding, appreciating, valuing, not just the music, but the time, the care, the statement, the communication happening through song selection, through order, through this perfect mixtape, and all of these hobbies, all of these pastimes, all of these patient practices. They shared something. The quiet end. Ultimately, life before the internet was defined by these tactile, hands-on moments and the many quiet spaces that allow the mind to rest. Tactile. This is the word. The key. Everything involved touch. Involved hands. Involved physical materials. Wood. Stone. Paper. Cord. Vinyl. Coins. Stamps. Matchbooks. Flowers. All physical. All real. All requiring your hands to manipulate. To create. To collect. To organize. To appreciate. Not screens. Not virtual. Not digital. But physical. With weight. With texture. With presence in the world. Things you could hold. Could touch. Could feel. This mattered. Connected you to the world. To materials. To reality in a direct way. Your hands shaping. Creating. Organizing. The satisfaction of physical creation. Physical collection. Physical work resulting in physical objects. And hands-on. Requiring attention. Requiring skill. Requiring patience. You couldn't rush. Couldn't automate. Couldn't delegate to a device. You had to do it. Yourself. With your hands. With your time. With your attention. This was the practice. The meditation. The point. Not efficiency. Not productivity. But presence. Engagement. The doing itself valuable. Meaningful. Satisfying. And quiet spaces. This is what these hobbies created. What they required. Quiet in your mind. Quiet in your environment. The tumbler humming. The record player spinning. But otherwise quiet. No notifications. No alerts. No digital world demanding attention. Just you and your hobby. Your collection. Your creation. Quiet space for the mind to rest. To focus. To be absorbed in one thing. Deeply. Completely. And this rest. This mental rest. So different from passive consumption. From scrolling. From watching. This was active rest. Engaged rest. Your hands busy but your mind calm. Focused but not stressed. Present but not pressured. The kind of rest that comes from meaningful engagement. From creating. From organizing. From pursuing something that matters to you even if it matters to no one else. Even if it produces nothing useful. Even if it's just for you. For your satisfaction. For your peace. This is what's been lost perhaps. Or diminished. In the always-on world. The quiet spaces. The patient hobbies. the tactile engagement, the hours spent creating something, collecting something, organizing something, just because, just for the pleasure of it, just for the peace it brings. But it's not gone. Not entirely. You can still tumble rocks, still collect coins, still press flowers, still knot macrame, still create mixtapes. Well, playlists now. But the same care, the same intention, the same gift of curated music. You can choose these things, can make time for them, can remember or discover what it feels like to be absorbed in something tactile, something patient, something quiet. And as you rest here now, as sleep draws very near, as your consciousness begins to dissolve into dreams, let yourself feel the peace of these hobbies, the calm of patient work, the satisfaction of slow creation, the meditation of repetitive action. Let your hands remember, or imagine, what it feels like to knot, to roll, to sort, to arrange, to create something physical, something real, something that exists because of your time, your attention, your hands. And let that peace carry you into sleep, into the deepest rest, where no collections need organizing, where no creations need completing, where nothing requires your attention, where you can simply be, simply rest, simply float in the quiet space between thoughts, between worries, between anything that pulls at you during waking life. Just peace, just quiet, just the deep, restorative rest that comes from a mind finally free, finally still, finally allowed to stop working, stop creating, stop organizing, and just be. Sleep now, deeply, completely. Let the miniature trains run through your dreams. Let the stones tumble smooth. Let the coins tell their histories. Let the stamps carry you to distant countries. Let the matchbooks remind you of places real and imagined. Let the pressed flowers bloom in sleep. Let the knotted cord create patterns in darkness. Let the paper quills unroll. Let the perfect song play. Let it all blend into the peaceful silence of deep sleep, of complete rest, of total letting go. Good night. Sleep well. And may your dreams be filled with the quiet satisfaction of hands that have created, minds that have rested, hearts that have found peace in the simple, patient, tactile practices of a world before internet, before hurry, before the loss of quiet spaces. Just quiet. Just peace. Just sleep. Rest now. Completely. Deeply. Peacefully. The stories have all been told now. All the images shared. All the memories evoked. All the gentle reminders of a world that moved more slowly, more deliberately, more peacefully. The world of the past is tucked away. Safe in your memory. Safe in your heart. Safe in the knowledge that simpler ways existed. Still exist. Still wait for you whenever you choose to remember them. Whenever you choose to return to them. Whenever you need the peace they offer. The lights are low. Feel that. The dimness. The darkness. Only the faintest light remaining. Maybe moonlight through a window. Maybe the distant glow of a street lamp. But mostly dark. Mostly night. Mostly the soft, protective darkness that invites sleep. That welcomes rest. That holds you gently in its quiet embrace. The house is still. Listen. No sounds. No movement. No activity. Just stillness. The kind of deep stillness that comes late at night. When everyone is sleeping. When everything is quiet. When the world itself seems to pause. To breathe. To rest. And there is nothing left for you to do but let go. Nothing required. Nothing expected. Nothing pulling at you or demanding your attention. Just permission. Permission to release. Permission to surrender. Permission to simply let go. The fading static. Imagine the sound of a radio being turned down low, the soft static fading into a gentle hum as the station signs off for the night. That sound. That familiar sound from another era. When radio stations didn't broadcast 24 hours. When they signed off. When they said goodnight. When they played the national anthem maybe. Or a final song. And then, static. The carrier wave. The hiss. The white noise. But then, the radio being turned down. Slowly. The volume decreasing. The static becoming quieter. Softer. Fading. Until it's barely audible. Just the gentlest hum. The faintest sound. And then, silence. Complete silence. The radio off. The station signed off. The night complete. And this is where you are now. The volume of consciousness turning down. The static of thoughts fading. The activity of the day becoming quieter. Softer. Less insistent. Less present. Fading away like that radio static. Becoming just a gentle hum. Barely there. And soon, not there at all. Just silence. Just peace. Just sleep. The final page. Picture yourself closing a heavy book. The soft thud of the cover marking the end of the day's journey. A thick book. Substantial. Heavy in your hands. And you've reached the end. The last page. The last words. The story complete. The journey concluded. And you close it. Bringing the covers together. The soft thud. That satisfying sound. Final. Complete. Done. This day is like that book. It had chapters. Moments. Experiences. Some pleasant. Some challenging. Some meaningful. Some forgettable. But all of them part of the story. Part of today's journey. And now, the final page. The day ending. And you close the book. Close the day. Mark it complete. Finished. Done. And place it aside. On the nightstand of memory. Where all finished days go. Where all completed stories rest. And turn your attention away from it. From the day. From its contents. From everything that happened. Because it's done now. Complete. And there's nothing more to do with it. Nothing more to add. Nothing more to consider. Just closed. Just finished. Just done. The cool air. Feel the cool night air coming through an open window, carrying the scent of cut grass and the quiet of a sleeping neighborhood. That temperature change. That shift from the warmth of day to the coolness of night. The air moving gently through the window. Through the screen. Into the room. Onto your skin. Cool. Not cold. Not uncomfortable. But refreshing. Gentle. The night air. Clean. Fresh. Carrying scents from outside. Cut grass. That distinctive smell. Green. Sweet. Earthy. The smell of summer. Of lawns. Of suburban life. Of care and maintenance and the simple pleasure of a tended yard. The smell drifting on the breeze. Reaching you. Comforting. Familiar. Peaceful. And quiet. The quiet of a sleeping neighborhood. No traffic. No voices. No activity. Just quiet. The profound quiet of night. When everyone is inside. When everyone is resting. When the world itself seems to sleep. This quiet carried on the air. moving through your window, filling your room, surrounding you, holding you in its peaceful embrace. The quiet telling you, it's okay to rest. Everyone is resting. The world is resting. And you can rest too. The weightless mind. Your mind is like those pressed flowers, still, beautiful, and at peace. Remember the pressed flowers. From earlier. From the stories. Flowers pressed between pages. Flattened. Dried. Preserved. Perfectly still. No longer growing. No longer changing. No longer moving. Just still. Held between pages. Protected. Peaceful. Beautiful in their stillness. In their completeness. In their perfect preservation. Your mind is like this now. Pressed between the pages of sleep and waking. Flattened. Smoothed. Still. No longer racing. No longer jumping from thought to thought. No longer processing or planning or worrying. Just still. Beautifully still. Peacefully still. Like a pressed flower. Perfect. Complete. At rest. And there are no more plans to make. Nothing to decide. Nothing to figure out. Tomorrow exists. But not yet. Not now. Now is just this. Just rest. Just stillness. Just the peaceful space between waking and sleeping where nothing is required. Where nothing matters. Where everything can wait. Because it will wait. It has to wait. Until you wake. Until you return. Until consciousness returns and the day begins again. But that's hours away. So far away. So distant. And right now, there are no plans. No messages to check. No screens to look at. No notifications waiting. No digital world pulling at you. Just nothing. Just peace. Just this moment of complete release. The rhythmic breath. Breathe in the stillness of the analog world. Breathe out any lingering thoughts of the day. In, and feel the stillness entering. The quiet. The peace. The simplicity. The slowness. The patience. All the qualities of that world before internet. Before constant connection. Before digital overwhelm. Breathing in that stillness. That spaciousness. That freedom. Filling your lungs. Filling your body. Filling your being with peaceful, simple, analog calm. And out, releasing. Any tension. Any worry. Any thought about today. About tomorrow. About anything that might still be lingering. Breathing it out. Letting it go. Releasing it into the night air. Where it can dissolve. Where it can disappear. Where it can cease to matter. Out and gone. Out and released. Out and let go. In peace. Out, release. In stillness. Out, thoughts. In rest. Out, everything else. Just breathing. Just this rhythm. This ancient rhythm. This fundamental rhythm of life. Breath in. Breath out. Over and over. Endless. Eternal. The rhythm that has sustained you since birth. That will sustain you until death. That sustains you now. Breathing. Living. Being. Resting. The slow pulse. Life before the internet was a series of slow pulses, the mail arriving, the seasons changing, the steady beat of a clock on the wall. Not the frantic pace of notifications. Not the constant stream of updates. Not the endless scroll. But slow pulses. Rhythmic pulses. Predictable pulses. The mail came once a day. Every day. But just once. That was the pulse. Daily. Reliable. Slow. The seasons changed. 4 times a year. Predictable. Cyclical. Slow. The clock ticked. Each second. Each minute. Each hour. Steady. Unchanging. Slow. This was the rhythm of life. These slow pulses. Creating structure. Creating predictability. Creating a pace that humans could match. Could live within. Could find peace within. Not rushing. Not racing. Not trying to keep up with speeds that exhaust. That overwhelm. That deplete. But slow. Sustainable. Humane. And you can rest in this rhythm now. The slow pulse. Your heartbeat. Slowing. Settling. Finding its resting rate. The breath. Slowing. Deepening. Finding its sleep rhythm. The mind. Slowing. Quieting. Finding its rest. Everything slowing. Everything pulsing gently. Slowly. Peacefully. Like life before internet. Like the analog world. Like the pace that sustains rather than depletes. That nourishes rather than exhausts. That heals rather than harms. The gift of boredom. Remember that boredom was once a gift, a quiet space where dreams were born. Let that space open up for you now. Boredom. We fear it now. Fill every moment. Every gap. Every pause. With screens. With stimulation. With content. Never allowing space. Never allowing emptiness. Never allowing boredom. But boredom was a gift. It was space. Space for imagination. Space for creativity. Space for dreams. When you were bored, you had to create. Had to imagine. Had to dream. Had to generate your own entertainment. Your own meaning. Your own thoughts. And from this space. This empty space. This boring space. Dreams were born. Ideas emerged. Creativity flourished. Because there was room. Because there was space. Because the emptiness invited filling. Not with external content. But with internal creation. And let that space open now. Let boredom arrive. Let emptiness come. Not as something to fear. Not as something to fill immediately. But as a gift. As an invitation. As permission. Permission to stop. To be. To let the mind wander. To let thoughts drift. To let consciousness move freely without direction or purpose or goal. Just drifting. Just being. Just existing in the spacious emptiness that is actually fullness. Actually potential. Actually peace. The drift. You are drifting now, like a kite on a dying breeze, slowly descending toward the soft, dark grass of sleep. Feel yourself floating. Suspended. Held by almost nothing. By the faintest breeze. The last breath of wind. Keeping you aloft. But barely. And the wind is dying. Fading. Weakening. And you begin to descend. Slowly. Gently. Drifting downward. Floating. No resistance. No effort. Just gravity. Just nature. Just the inevitable gentle return to earth. And below you. Soft grass. Dark grass. Night grass. Cool and welcoming. Waiting to catch you. Waiting to hold you. Waiting to support your landing. And you drift toward it. Closer. Closer. Descending so slowly. So gently. So peacefully. No rush. No hurry. Just the slow, inevitable drift of a kite with no more wind to hold it up. Coming to rest. Coming home. Coming down to the soft, dark, welcoming grass asleep. Almost there now. So close. The grass reaching up. Your descent continuing. Gentle. Peaceful. Perfect. The landing inevitable. The rest waiting. The sleep ready to receive you. Drifting. Drifting. Almost there. The unplugged world. Everything is unplugged. Everything is silent. The world is resting, and you are resting with it. No connections. No power cords. No charging cables. No electricity flowing into devices. Everything unplugged. Everything powered down. Everything off. Silent. Still. Resting. The television off. The radio silent. The phone in its cradle. Not ringing. The house dark. Quiet. Unplugged. And outside. The neighborhood dark. Quiet. Unplugged. Everyone sleeping. Everyone resting. Everyone released from the day's demands. The world itself resting. 30. The analog world. The offline world. The unplugged world. And you part of this. You resting with it. You unplugged. Disconnected. Offline. No longer available. No longer reachable. No longer on. Just off. Just resting. Just sleeping with the world. With the neighborhood. With everyone and everything that has released the day and surrendered to night. To rest. To sleep. To the deep, restorative unconsciousness that heals and renews and prepares you for tomorrow. For whenever you wake. For whenever you plug back in. But not now. Not yet. Now, unplugged. Now, resting. Now, at peace. The deep sleep. In this quiet, offline world, you are safe. You are calm. You are deeply, peacefully asleep. Safe. Protected. Held. By darkness. By night. By the world's rest. Nothing can disturb you. Nothing can harm you. You are safe. Safe in sleep. Safe in rest. Safe in the deep, unconscious peace that comes when consciousness finally releases. Finally lets go. Finally surrenders. And calm. So calm. Not a ripple. Not a disturbance. Not a thought or worry or concern. Calm. Like still water. Like quiet air. Like the profound calm that exists in the depths. In the center. In the heart of peace itself. You are this calm. You are this peace. You are this stillness. Completely. Totally. Absolutely. And deeply, peacefully asleep. Not half asleep. Not drifting between sleep and waking. But deep. Profoundly deep. In the deepest levels of sleep. Where healing happens. Where restoration occurs. Where the body repairs and the mind processes and the spirit renews. Deep. Deep. Deep in sleep. In rest. In the complete and total peace that is perfect sleep. And peaceful. So peaceful. Nothing disturbing. Nothing troubling. Nothing interrupting. Just peace. Pure peace. Complete peace. The peace that passes understanding. The peace that comes when everything is released. When everything is let go. When nothing matters except this moment of perfect, beautiful, complete rest. You are there now. In that place. In that state. In that deep, peaceful, perfect sleep. Where nothing exists except rest. Except peace. Except the gentle, healing darkness that holds you, renews you, restores you. Sleep now. So deeply, so completely, so peacefully. Let everything go. Every thought, every concern, every sense of yourself even. Let it all dissolve into the darkness, into the quiet, into the deep, peaceful rest. You are safe. You are calm. You are deeply, peacefully asleep. The analog world rests. The unplugged world sleeps. And you rest with it. Sleep with it. Dissolve into its peaceful embrace. Its gentle darkness. Its complete and total rest. Good night. Sleep deeply. And may your rest be complete. Your peace be total. Your sleep be deep and healing and restorative and perfect. The stories are done. The day is over. The world is quiet. And you are asleep. Deeply. Peacefully. Completely asleep. Rest now and sleep. Sleep.